And call the meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners to order. I think, Kim, do you do roll call?
Yes. Ellen Rodkey.
Here.
Israel Herrera.
Here.
Jim Whitlatch.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. And then with that, we'll move on to the consent calendar. And I'll just ask, I believe, if there are any items of discussion, and if not, then a motion to approve.
I move to approve the consent agenda as posted, A1 through A11.
All right, so we will vote to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and motion passes. Let's see, I think we're having a little problem going live. Do we need to take a pause?
Yeah, so sorry. Stand by 1 second. Let me reattempt it. I'm sorry for the delay.
You're fine. Thanks, Sarah. You got this. Better you than me.
I was trying to see if you were.
I'm on the call. Sorry.
It's certainly taking its time. Oh, it's looking promising.
Yeah, I think we got it. All right, I see that live note at the top of my screen now.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much for your patience.
Of course, great job. You totally got it. You wouldn't want to trust me with that. Okay, so are we okay to move on then to our first item, which will be our approval of the resolution for virtual meetings. And I think that is going to be Daniel to talk about that.
Ellen, I'm sorry, Sarah, if you'll make Daniel co-host, please.
Okay, is that, oh, there we go.
There we go. Okay, can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my name is Daniel Dixon. I'm with the City of Bloomington Legal Department. I'm here to present the Resolution 2103 related to the electronic meetings policy. If you hadn't had a chance to review kind of the summary report on this, essentially what this policy permits is a continuation of electronic meetings in sort of a hybrid format once the governor's health orders expire at the end of the month. And so what this policy does is essentially allows you to continue, if you want to have electronic participation in meetings, so long as at least 50% of the members of the park board are present in person at the usual meeting place. There are some other conditions as well in the policy. Basically, though, this tracks a law that the Indiana legislature passed back in April. The only deviation from that are kind of two things. One is that there is a requirement that if any of you think you're going to be in need of an electronic meeting, to make a request and notify Paula or somebody else on park staff at least 3 days in advance, just because there is some technology and stuff that needs to happen to make that possible. The other thing is that because there are a lot of subordinate advisory boards to Park Commission, this policy will also basically be made applicable to them through Section 2 of the resolution. Those other advisory councils will still need to ratify this policy at their next opportunity, but this will at least be adopted then as their policy as well without them having to go through a formal process. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Just let me know.
Go ahead, Jim.
Couple questions that I have, Daniel. As I understand it, and I haven't studied the ordinance that's being proposed extensively, but as I understand it, and by the statute, that 50% have to be present and 50% or then somebody else can be virtual. So that means with a 4-member board that so long as 2 are present, 1 or 2 of the others can be virtual. Is that right?
That's correct.
But okay. Okay. And does it, what if only 3 are present? So that would, okay. I've answered my own question. I can do my math, I guess, is part of my problem. And on the, I didn't look at the language regarding the 3-day notice. I'm fine with that, other than is there some out if there's an emergent situation or something? That'd be my only concern. Somebody gets sick or a plane flight gets canceled, they can't get back, but it's an important meeting and they can tell us the day before, but they can't tell us 3 days. Is that written hard and fast, or is there some flexibility in that language?
The intention was to have it be flexible if there's an emergency or something. It's more kind of just a convenience thing for staff to give them enough time.
Okay, I get that. And let me think. I think that's, oh, are all of our meetings being new to this and being only in COVID, are all of our meetings broadcast on Facebook or BCAT or something like that? In other words, if some people, it's not going to change what the meeting is going to be for the general public other than they can come to a location. They're still going to be able to be broadcast on Facebook or something like that. Is that correct?
My understanding is it'll still be broadcast in the way that however it was kind of before the pandemic. I'll confess that I wasn't here before that started either. So I think it'll continue in whatever way it was done beforehand. The difference for the public will be that if there's going to be a hybrid meeting, the public and staff will be allowed to participate electronically in that hybrid meeting. If there's not going to be a hybrid meeting, then everyone has to be present together in person, so there won't be public participation electronically.
So if everybody's going to be present and in person, and there is none of the board is participating by Zoom, then presumably there won't even be a Zoom link. Is that right?
I believe that's correct, yes.
And what if the executive director or so if we're in person, the executive director, Paula, needs to be there in person.
Yeah.
But if one of us is joining virtually, the staff can join virtually.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you for answering my questions. I move that we approve the ordinance.
Second.
All right. All those in favor to approve the electronic ordinance, say aye.
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 All right, motion passes. And we'll move on to our next item. So let's see here. We are learning about security for Switchyard Park.
Hi there. My name is Sean Marler. I'm the general manager for Switchyard Park. Welcome to the board, or thank you to the board. Staff would like to recommend approval of the contract with Marshall Security LLC to provide late night security patrols at Switchyard Park. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board has.
Thanks, Sean. Anyone have questions? I was just curious, have we had to do this before? I was just in any of our other parks or anything.
We have parks services, which is seasonal temporary employees. Typically, they don't stay quite as late, but we have done that. But this is new ground for us. About a gallon. That's it.
Ellen, yeah, let me just jump in here. We have had, as Sean said, park patrol, but just with our increase of situations and some vandalism and that particularly down at Switchyard Park. And as you know, this is our first season fully operational down there. It kind of bubbled to the top pretty quickly. And so we just felt that this would provide full coverage in the overnight hours and when staff is finding acts of vandalism and that have occurred in those wee hours of the night and early morning. So hired security and coverage is new, but as I said, it's because we're just now operating fully at Switchyard Park.
This is probably in the contract, but can you give me the hours that they will be there and how many people will be patrolling and kind of what they're going to be doing and how they're going to be doing it?
There'll be 2 security people. They'll be there from 11 p.m. till 7 a.m. in the morning. They will have their own vehicle. The security company we were discussing it with, that we're looking to contract with, has a system where there's GPS coordinates throughout the park at different spots. And so they will check in so that we will actually have a report that shows that they are making their rounds through the park. Additionally, these security will be wearing body cameras, and any incidents that happen, they'll be filing reports. We will get those reports immediately after they file them, as well as report the next day of them doing the rounds. So it is quite a bit more than what our current park services are capable of. The security will be wearing uniforms of the security company, and their vehicle does have sirens on it and lights, not sirens, lights similar to a police car. So this is definitely a beefed up presence from our current staff.
So how are they going with the vehicle? What areas, I assume can they drive down the path on that with the vehicle?
Yes, the vehicle they have, we've already had discussions with that. It is a vehicle that can travel on the B line. It is rated to travel there. All the spots will have them go to. The majority of those spots are accessible by that vehicle. There are a few spots where they will have to get out. And again, we determine those locations and we can change them up from time to time if we want.
And will they be patrolling together or separately?
They'll be patrolling together.
And do they have any kind of arms? Are they armed with anything, taser or anything?
I can confirm that. I don't have the answer for you at the moment. My belief is no, they are not.
The report mentions unarmed. It specifies unarmed.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is any kind of emergency or inconvenient, something violent in the park, so how would be this connected with the police? So if someone should be detained, or what's the protocol or the procedure your team would have regarding a particular incident? What would be the next steps? You're saying that you have the staff will have the cameras, the body cameras. So how this is going to work between the security that you are in charge with the police in Bloomington?
My understanding is they would still continue to work with the police in much the same capacity as our own staff. Anything that is criminal would be reported to the police, and it would be up to the police to make any arrests or anything like that.
So the incidents that you will be like the ground that you will have is any kind of people going against the park, any kind of incident with the infrastructure, or how we can differentiate what you are going to do and what the regular police does?
Majority of what the security companies can be doing is monitoring the park. Many of our worst vandalism and other issues are happening after hours, even after our own staff leave for the night. So, but criminal activity, the expectation is still upon the police to come and handle those. The security company would be calling the police in those issues and those specific incidents.
Okay, so you won't be involved in those kind of incidents.
By you, do you mean my staff? No,
Yeah,
this would be, this would be between the security would contact the police. We'll get a report after the fact, but we would not be directly involved unless there's some question that, I mean, they'll have my phone number. If they have a question on, hey, there's a group in the park, they say they're supposed to be there, they would be free to call me just to verify.
Okay, and so you mentioned, Helen, you mentioned from 11 to 7, right? That's
Yes.
The shift. So the same people would have just like one shift, or is there going to be 2 shifts, or how is it going to work for all the personnel?
It would be one shift, 2 people at the same time. There'll be a slight overlap. Our park services stay till 1 p.m. or excuse me, 1 a.m. So there'll be a slight overlap, but for the most part, they will be on their own in the park.
In the park. And these 2 people would be the same ones every day, or is there any kind of a change of personnel?
It is 7 days a week, so I do not believe it's the same people every day. I believe there are multiple people who would fill the shifts.
Okay.
All the security personnel who would do it are licensed security personnel. So there's an expectation of a high level of training for those personnel though.
And this question might be to Paula. I don't know if we increase the number of cameras in the park because of this kind of vandalism before. I mentioned in one board meeting about maybe having more cameras, obviously not inside the restrooms, but in more other places around the park that could also support or help any kind of incident, like evidence of a break of the law or kind of vandalism happening, and we could have the images to demonstrate besides the body cameras, but more ways to demonstrate that people are maybe destroying the park.
Right, we've got cameras throughout the park currently mounted on the lights throughout the park, and we have the ability to move those around as well. And we have the ability to access the footage following an act of vandalism. So we are currently using that. Again, this is just additional eyes monitoring on the park during the hours when our park patrol are no longer on duty.
If I could add to, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sean.
I was going to say, if I could add to that, the cameras themselves do not seem to be a deterrent to many of the actions we've seen. We have video of somebody knocking over a light pole, of lighting a trash can on fire, of similar incidents. Having a camera is not a deterrent, even when we do have good video, which you don't always get great video, but even when we have good video of a person and we take it to the police, there's certain situations in which there's not much they can do even with that video.
Right. So just an added presence, I think, is an important part of this.
Recording stopped.
Oh.
All right. Are there other questions?
Recording in progress.
Just a couple of other questions. The qualifications for the people that are hired, I notice it doesn't seem like the contract, it says that they should be, meet the requirements of this profession, but I wonder, I don't know anything about this company. Are we comfortable that Marshall Security and Private Investigations adequately trains Do they do adequate background checks? Those types of things. Is that something that we might, at least in the future, considering making sure in the contract? And I do note that it says that we can, we have the discretion of replacing any and all services not meeting the standard of care. I assume that means that if there's a security person that we don't want coming back to the park for whatever reason, that we could request. That would be my another question. So I'll stop and let you answer those 2 questions.
Sure. There are 3 security companies in town. Oh, sorry. There are 3 security companies in town. We feel we're confident in all 3 of them. There are, many of them have been used for various special events in the past. When we went out to bid for this, there was one company who flat said because of employment issues and their current schedule, they can't do that. The other company declined to bid on this. And so the company that would likely have had the best price was Marshall MSI Security. We have confidence in all 3. All 3 have been used in some capacity in the past.
Okay. All right, that's all the questions I have.
All right, I will take a motion if there are no further questions.
Move to approve the contract with Marshall Security.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion carries. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Tim. And Tim, I think you have the floor here for a while.
Yeah, sorry. Good evening, or afternoon rather, commissioners. I tried to keep the agenda light this month, but this is what happens when I try to keep it light. Everything seems to fall at once. So I'm going to try to move expediently in my explanations, but of course, happy to answer questions as they come up. So we have the contract addendum for Eagle Ridge for Cascades Phase 5. Staff recommends approval of an addendum to the original contract with Eagle Ridge in the amount of $35,000, which is coming out of the bond fund. This is to, as you'll recall, in April, the board approved the signing of the memorandum of agreement for the history mitigation as prescribed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. After a couple of months of coordinating and figuring out who can do this work for us, we found some history consultants from Ball State, some professors who can put together the Historic American Landscape Survey, which will be submitted to the Library of Congress, as well as preparing interpretive signage and the nomination for the National Register of Historic Places. So that is this contract addendum.
Any questions, Jim, Israel?
I have no questions.
All right, I'll take a motion.
Move to approve the contract with Eagle Ridge Civil Engineering.
Second.
All right, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Thank you. Next up, Tim.
Sure, so we have review approval of contract with Jericho Metal Specialties LLC for Switchyard Park bridge panels. We started to shift our attention to some outstanding items at Switchyard Park post-construction that need follow-up. The bridges on the east side of Switchyard Park, the 2 metal bridges, have some bridge panels that needed basically a design fix and some metal fabrication on there to keep these expansion panels secure. Jericho Metals built and fabricated the bridge railings originally, so we've gone back to them to get a fix for these. And they will fabricate some new connections to, if you've been through there, you've noticed there's either been plywood or caution tape up that we would love to get rid of and make these look a little more finalized. So the amount is $8,900 that is remaining in the Switchyard project budget.
Sounds good. Yes, I have noticed these. And I saw this on the agenda, was excited. Any other questions?
I move to approve.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion carries. All right, next up.
Sure, next up we have review approval of contract with Rundell Ernstberger Associates for Bryan Park Trail improvements. So an outstanding bond project in the general obligation bonds that we have not gotten to yet, but are looking forward to, is perimeter trail improvements at Bryan Park. This is something we've been asked about a lot. So staff recommends approval of a contract with Rundale Ernstberger Associates in the amount of $18,100 to create design and construction documents for Bryan Park trail improvements. The reason that we're going to an outside firm for this is that there's a lot of technical tree care needed in designing around these mature trees. We've already consulted with Bluestone Tree a bit, and we'll meet out there to design a trail and possibly some transitions to boardwalk, possibly a few trail reroutes to both improve the quality of the perimeter trail while preserving the health of all the mature trees that are along that trail that make that park special. I think that's it for that one.
Thanks, Tim. Is that also like the one that is the perimeter trail also considered the one that runs in the middle by the creek?
We are not looking as much at this through the middle, the east-west trail that runs along Sheridan Creek there. We are focusing mostly on the perimeter, which is where the most degraded trail occurs, especially the north side is particularly bad, and some on the east side tend to be the worst locations.
Sounds good. Questions?
Right, yeah, Tim, if you could just elaborate about those segments. What do you mean by degraded?
Sure. So the asphalt there has been in place for a number of years, and in some cases it's just cracked with age. Asphalt in the shade tends to degrade quicker than asphalt in the sun, and a lot of this is under trees. Additionally, a lot of trees have grown up and matured, and tree roots have pushed up sections of asphalt, and in particular, some of those sections is that or where we're going to look with particular care. So we don't just, sever tree roots. I can think of one section on the north in particular where we will probably be looking at doing a boardwalk over top of the existing trail rather than milling up and grinding that up because it would damage the trees so substantially.
So it's just the north side of the trail, or is there other places in the south with this?
Yeah. Great question. We're evaluating that now, Israel, and what we're going to do is once we have this contract in place, we're going to use that to more precisely predict and estimate our construction expenses, probably on a per unit type bid that will allow us to basically create a list of all the worst areas and then max out the budget available to fix as many of those as possible.
Thank you, Tim.
All right.
I learned something today. I didn't know that asphalt degraded more in the shade than in the sun. I would have thought the opposite. But in any event, I move to approve.
Me too, Jim.
Second.
I'm sure there's something out there to disprove what I said too. There always is.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion carries. Thanks, Tim. I think you have one more.
Yeah, two more still.
Two more.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Mine are out of order here.
Oh, yeah. We'll come back to you in a little while. But yes, we have one more right now.
The next one I have is a contract with Mater Design. You're aware of the Hidden Path project that is ongoing through the Waldron Hill and Buskirk Park area. This is similar to the Big Dig that happened years ago. They're working on where the Campus River runs underground. From northeast to southwest. This has caused us to remove the Waldron Hill and Buskirk playground. Park Board approved an MOU with the City of Bloomington Utilities in the amount of $160,000 to replace that playground at the conclusion of the project. So this contract with Mater Design is to create the detailed site plan that we need to create an RFP for playground vendors to design a playground with appropriate clearances, depths, all of that information that's needed to communicate to them in the plan in conjunction with CBU in the hopes that we can then work on an RFP and bring in a proposal to Park Board before the end of the year to actually replace the playground.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All right, motion carries. So, and then Tim, you're right. You do have another one here.
One more for right now before we get to the others. This is the next agenda item is a partnership agreement with Earthkeepers Inc. for compost drop-off bins. This is a $0 agreement, but staff recommends approval of this partnership agreement. Earthkeepers is a local compost company that operates compost drop-off stations. They approached the city, both looking at parks, potentially at City Hall, at the farmers market, a few other locations, to have some of their compost drop-off bins located. If you're curious what we're talking about, there's one at the Near West Bloomington Foods in the parking lot there. It's just a drop-off bin that their subscribers can use. They use their phone to access it and can put their compost in there. The partnership agreement specifies that they are completely responsible for the bins, the maintenance, the cleaning, all of that, making sure they're emptied and serviced. This is keeping in line with the city's goals to, continue to promote green habits, maybe make it a little more convenient for people who are subscribers to compost by providing more drop-off locations. The two locations here will be Bryant Park and Switchyard Park.
Yeah, that's great. Really interesting concept. Just basically a community receptacle for compost. Other questions?
So, Tim, I'm looking here. So this is this would be a permanent, or is this just until December 31st, 2022, right? And from there will be an assessment?
Correct. Yeah, we would reassess at that point if we would like to continue. There are clauses in there that if, either party wants to terminate, there is an option for that. If we feel like it's just not being successful, we could do that as well. But other than that, there would be an automatic reevaluation at the end of next year. Okay.
And so we're saying they will be responsible for the management of the bins. And do we know how many people are involved in Earthkeepers?
I don't know how many total employees they have. No, I know it is a husband and wife company that's based here in Bloomington. They used to be called Green Camino, and that they have quite a few of these receptacles located around and are still looking to add more. And according to them, if they added, I want to say it was 4 more, they would be the largest such network in the country.
Okay, and so the one would be in Bryant Park, the other would be in Bloomington Foods in the east, right?
Bryant Park, Israel.
By Bryant Park, okay. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned something about the like how often they will change, or they will be in charge of the beans.
Yeah, so they've actually got technology working on this now where based on the app that they're using, they can see when people are accessing it, and it will actually keep them informed as to when it would be full based on the buckets that people are dumping in there. So that's a pretty cool feature, but they do check them at least once a week otherwise anyway.
Nice, perfect. Yeah, thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.
From me.
I'm kind of ignorant about how these work. So what kind of compost are we talking about that would be put into these bins?
I know they specify that specifically to their subscribers, and it's on their buckets and everything. But for the most part, we're talking food scraps and other sort of like kitchen basics and things like that.
Okay, this is another question not based upon any knowledge, but curiosity or wanting to know. Mike, I have this vision of compost piles being locations where pests or rodents would like to live or hang out. And how do we deal with that issue?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question. And one thing, if it did become an issue, we would have to look at in terms of evaluating the partnership. But from what I gather so far and what I've seen and looking at the Bloomington Foods one, I don't understand that they have had any issues with that there. And the bins are enclosed so as to, keep anything large would be unable to open it or to get into it or to create a mess or anything like that.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
All right. Well, thank you. If that's everything, we'll take a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of the partnership with Earth Keepers?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, thanks, Tim. We'll see you back here in just a little bit. All right, so let's see here. We have Steve Cotter up next. Hi, Steve.
Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a good afternoon. I am here today to seek approval of a memorandum of understanding with Indiana University for a parcel of land of uncertain ownership that will be crossed by the Griffey Loop Trail project. And for those who haven't heard of it, the Griffey Loop Trail project will be a 6-mile loop around the western portion of Griffey Lake between Headley Road and the dam. It will also include a fishing pier that will have accessible fishing spots on it with a safe, accessible route from the Griffey Boathouse parking lot. So as we were working on the routing of this trail, we discovered that there's a parcel of land just south of the lake on both sides of Headley Road that appears to be city property on the GIS records, but that has been managed by IU's Research and Teaching Preserve for many years. So as we figure out the ownership, we're not sure that we'll be able to determine it, resolve it before we want to begin construction on the trail, which will hopefully happen this fall. So the university has offered to allow us access to that property to build and maintain the trail. They would continue to have access to the property until that ownership is determined. And either party can terminate it with 180 days notice. We've been working with the real estate office over there, including a former park commissioner, Jason Bannock, and Daniel Dixon has been helping on the city legal side. So we're confident that we'll get it figured out, but we're not sure when.
So we're really just primarily concerned today on approving that in order to let the trail work go forward.
That's exactly right, yes.
Makes sense to me.
So the trail area that's showed in the aerial photograph there, that's almost entirely within the, I don't want to call it disputed area, but the area of question. Is that fair to say?
The area that is shown in your packet, the larger area is the outline of the entire 14-acre parcel that is of uncertain ownership. And the highlighted area is the area through which the trail will pass.
Okay. And how much, what are we talking about the cost of constructing this trail?
We are nearly completed with the design is nearly completed, and we estimate, preliminary estimates have been in the $1.5 million range for the entire 6-mile loop.
So my only hesitation in this agreement is that we're going to spend $1.5 million, and I don't think this would happen, but I think we need to think about it. We could spend $1.8 million and IU could cancel the deal on 180 days notice or they could determine it's their property. I'm just concerned about spending the money without more certainty about whether we own it, or the agreement provides that regardless of who owns it, the trail will be open to us. I guess that's what my concern is about it. Is that we're spending a fair amount of, we're spending money and building something on their property, and they could stop this agreement or not allow us to use it as the agreement's written. Again, don't think any of that's going to happen, but that's the paranoia that I guess we need to have as board members.
Well, thank you for the question. First of all, the area through which the trail will pass is relatively short, and we will not be spending much money on that area. I think the only expenditure in that area will be a connection from the bridge at the south end of the causeway up to the natural surface trail. So most of the area will consist of, say, a two or 3 foot wide dirt trail. The vast majority of the expenditures on the Griffey Loop will come from the walkway, which will be adjacent to Griffey, and that's entirely on city land. And there's some work at the dam end, which is also entirely on city land. But beyond that, I'd say that we do have a very good cooperative relationship with the IU Research and Teaching Preserve. And they do have trails that connect to ours currently and vice versa. So I think the risk is very minimal for this portion of the loop.
Okay, so what I guess I didn't understand, that's very helpful, thank you. And I guess what you're telling me, make sure I understood it, is that most of the $1.8 million is going to be spent on work that's on the city property. Is that a good summation?
That's exactly right. The only portion, and we think it's probably going to be about 1.5 million.
1.5. Okay.
And the only portion that will not be on city land will be in this highlighted area on the parcel in question.
Okay, so just this little area. Okay, all right. Thank you.
The area highlighted in red is where the trail will pass through.
Okay. And so the trail is actually, much of the trail is going to be outside that area, is what I guess that was my confusion, I guess.
Yes, that's correct. The vast majority will be outside of
okay. Area. I was thinking the whole trail would be inside the highlighted area. That's what my confusion was. Thank you. With that understanding, I'm comfortable moving forward with the agreement.
Great, thank you.
Second.
We'll call
yeah, mine was a motion, and Israel, I'll take mine as a motion, yes.
Okay, we'll call it a motion. All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right,
thank you
so much, Steve. Yeah, have a good night. All right, Claire. Oh, Leslie, that's right, you're presenting tonight.
Yes,
Clarence
thank you.
At Tuesday Market.
Clarence is working the Tuesday Market tonight, so I'm filling in for him. Leslie Brunson, Community Events Manager. I am here to ask approval of 2 new appointments to the Farmers Market Advisory Council. Neela Hostetter, who owns and operates Sweet Claire Bakery, one of our food and beverage artisans, and Kathy Bate, who would be a community member of the Advisory Council. The Advisory Council consists of 11 members representing both market vendors, customers, as well as food and beverage artisans. We currently have 2 vacancies in the food and beverage artisan representatives, 1 farm vendor vacancy and 1 customer representative vacancy. Kathy Bate is recommended for the 1 customer representative and Neela for 1 of the 2 food and beverage artisan openings. Notices of these openings have been listed in our farmers market newsletter that goes out weekly, as well as our market beat who goes to farm vendors and on the website. We did get 2 applications for the customer representative and have gone with Kathy to fill that spot. We do still then have a farm vendor and a food and beverage vacancy on the advisory council at this point. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Leslie. Leslie, could you remind us who is the chair for the advisory council for the farmers?
Sure. Cortland Carrington is the advisory council president. He has been that way for the last 2 years. He owns and operates American Mushroom and Spice. He is a farm vendor at the market.
And you're mentioning we will have 1, like we have 2 vacancies for customers.
No, we only had the 1 vacancy for customers and we got 2 applications. So we are filling that 1 spot. We had 2 food and beverage artisan vacancies. We are going to be filling 1 of those. And so after tonight, if you approve these 2, we'll have 1 farm vendor vacancy still left and 1 food and beverage vacancy left. The customer reps will be full.
Okay, and help me with the numbers. So how many do we have for customers?
There are 4 customer representatives on the council.
And remind me if we have a coach, we have a chair, but we don't have a co-chair, right? Or vice chair.
Correct. They do not have a vice chair.
Okay.
I move to approve.
Right. Just one last question before second. So for the promotion of the market, what social outlets or in which way we are using to invite people to go?
So for the customer reps, we put it in our newsletter on Facebook and on our website. For both farm vendors and food and beverage, since they're more internal of the market, we advertise within our what we call a market beat, which is a vendor only newsletter. And then we make direct asks to different vendors as well.
And the person in charge of the for example, the social media is the same chair, or is there any other person who can?
The Parks Department handles all of the social media for the farmers market. That is not a requirement or a piece that we put on the Farmers Market Advisory Council. They do not have their own social media channels. They follow through the market channels, and staff are responsible for that communication.
Mm-hmm. And could you please remind us the meetings for this advisory council?
Sure. The advisory council meets the third Monday of every month at 5:30. They have been meeting virtually, but as with all meetings, could move into a different hybrid or in person as we move through the summer.
The third Monday, right?
The third Monday, yes.
So we will have, or there was a meeting last night, right?
There was a meeting last night, yes.
Last night, okay. Okay, sorry, Jim. Yeah, so I second.
Okay, thank you. And so we'll take a vote to approve both of these individuals. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, motion carries. Thank you so much, Leslie. And thank you to both Kathy and Nelia for serving the community in one of those appointments. All right, Crystal, I think you're up next.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Okay, great. I am here tonight to recommend approval of a partnership agreement with Cardinal Stage Company and the City of Bloomington Economic and Sustainable Development Department. This partnership will allow Cardinal Stage Company use of the Bloomington Parks and Recreation mobile stage and Bryan Park for outdoor theater events for the remainder of 2021. Anytime the mobile stage goes out due to safety requirements from the Indiana Department of Homeland Security for safe use of the stage, we do have to have a staff member with the stage at all times, and ESD, or Economic and Sustainable Development, will be reimbursing the Parks Department for those staffing expenses incurred for use of the mobile stage through CARES grant funding that they have received. This partnership is basically just to support Bloomington's vibrant theater. You know, it's been really impacted in the past couple of years due to COVID-19, and many theater companies within our community have not rebounded yet. So this is a partnership to kind of help support them in a way. And this partnership is currently for one date, but that could expand. So the partnership is worded in a way that multiple dates could be added to the partnership agreement. And also, if this goes well, there's potential to expand it to other theater groups in town as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
So Crystal,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Israel.
No, I see that the day is July 16th, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And could you just let us know the time, because I see the date, but I don't see it's going to be all day long, or is there any part of the day?
So right now it is scheduled for July 16th in the afternoon. We did not put specific times in the partnership agreement simply because they will have to do setup for the event. And they were not able to provide precise times yet, but they believe it's worded in there that they have to provide us precise dates and times at least 2 weeks prior.
Mm-hmm. And do we know how many groups are going to participate? You mentioned several companies around.
We at this time, it's just Cardinal Stage Company. Cardinal Stage Company has reached out to other groups within town, including Bloomington Playwrights Project and Stages Bloomington, and I think some others, to get their interest, see if they're interested in this partnership agreement. So right now we're just trying this date with Cardinal Stage Company, and if all goes well, then we might come back to you guys with additional or an addendum to the partnership agreement to add additional dates.
Cardinal Stage will be the one reaching out to the other companies, right? But so far we don't know about how many groups or theater groups or companies will be involved.
Not yet.
Not yet. And around which day you think we will have some kind of a program to promote the event? And the other thing is this going to be just an English event, or is there any possibility to include also other language for the community in Bloomington?
So to answer your first question, we should have more information about the event hopefully by the end of this week. Some of their staff are on vacation this week, so once they are back in the office, I should have confirmation so that we could start promoting that event for July 16th. At this time, this event is an event that will be held in English, but I will make a note because that's absolutely something that we can talk with them about in terms of providing more diversity to the programming.
Right. Actually, I wonder if maybe, Crystal, you could send me more information, because I'm in contact or in charge of several youth, like theater groups with young people from high schools and also people from the university. And as you were saying, this would be a good opportunity to do something after a long time without presenting or performing in a venue. So I will appreciate if you can just, as soon as you have a tentative program, in order to promote the theater scene here in our city.
Absolutely. I'll reach out to you as soon as I have more information, Israel.
All right. Any other questions, Jim?
No.
Okay.
I move to approve.
All right.
Second.
And all those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Motion carries. Aye. Thank you so much, Crystal. And I just want to make a note for my fellow board members. We want to just keep the agenda moving so that we can get to the presentation at the end and make sure that we still have time for public comment before the Public Works meeting at 5:30. So with that, let's go to Becky. Hi, Becky.
Hi, I hope everyone is doing well tonight, and I will try to go right through this for you. Staff is recommending approval of a partnership addendum to the agreement with Centerstone for contractual services to provide employees to serve on a work crew, including restroom monitoring and custodial maintenance in Switchyard Park for an amount not to exceed $70,000 and some change. Funding sources for this partnership agreement will come through the non-reverting Switchyard Park account, but expenses will be reimbursed from CARE funds. So due to the success of this great partnership that we have with Centerstone, we would like to expand the current agreement with them and relationship with them to include restroom monitoring and custodial services at Switchyard. Centerstone will invoice the department, and we will know who works in the program, and then we will pay them. And during that time, there will be a crew of 3 workers and a supervisor from Centerstone who will monitor restroom facilities at Switchyard 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, for a total of 153 days from the date that we can actually begin with Centerstone. And they're working on getting some staffing to do that right now. And this is an exploratory program in an effort to provide clean, safe restrooms for the park patrons at Switchyard Park. And staff from the park will provide training equipment and general oversight. So I'd be happy to answer any more questions, but I think it's pretty straightforward.
Questions?
Move to approve. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Second.
All right. Yes, thank you, Becky. And glad we can keep this partnership with more opportunities for those folks. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right. Motion carries. Thanks, Becky.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Bill, you're up.
All right. I am Bill Ream, Community Events Coordinator, and I am here tonight to recommend approval of a partnership agreement with Downtown Bloomington Incorporated and Indiana University to present the Independence Day Reverse Parade on Saturday, July 3rd. The Reverse Parade will take place in the IU Memorial Stadium Purple lot. And the spectators will drive through between 10 and 12 on July 3rd. DBI and the Parks Department will split the revenue from the entries after some of the expenses have been paid. IU is not part of that. They are the host side. This is the 14th year for the partnership with Downtown Bloomington Incorporated, and this is the first year for the partnership with Indiana University. And like I said, the reverse parade will be held in their facility. It was changed this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic and just uncertainty on what we were going to be able to do when we started planning this. So the format is now what's called a reverse parade, and what happens there is entries will stay stationary. There will be assigned a spot. They're assigned either 3 or 6 parking spaces depending on what they chose, and they will be in order. And then spectators will drive through and wave at the entries, and people will wave back, and we'll have a band playing at the beginning, and so it's as much like a parade as we can get it without thousands and thousands of people in the street like it has been in the past. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about it.
A creative solution, I think, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, very interesting.
All right. Let's see. So we have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Ellen, I'm sorry to interrupt. I believe we have a hand raised.
Okay, yep. So I think we have a motion, and then we'll open the floor for discussion, if I'm correct.
Sorry if I got that out of order.
No, that's okay. So you have a motion, Jim, and Israel, did you second?
Yeah, I second, but just a question. Maybe I'm wrong, but are we going to take the questions after each item or at the end?
I think we might have a question specifically regarding this particular agenda item.
Perfect.
So I think we will take that have the public comment available during this agenda item. Okay, so let's see. Sarah, do you unmute Greg or?
Sure, just one second.
Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if that was the right cue.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Hi, can I speak now?
Yes, you have 2 minutes, I believe.
Great, thanks. My name's Greg Alexander. I just, you know what, I don't have a car, and I was wondering if my family came and walked to view the parade, if that would be tolerable, and if not, you know that a lot of people don't have cars, right? Thanks.
To answer the question, yes, it can be. It doesn't have to be in a vehicle. It can be a bicycle. It can be people on foot. We will make that arrangement to make it safe. However, whatever we need to do that. Anyone is welcome. However they want to go through the event.
Great, thanks, Phil. All right, so with that, we'll vote to approve. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, motion carries. Thanks, Phil. And then Crystal, you're back.
Good afternoon again. I am here again this time to recommend approval of a partnership agreement with Bloomington Pride to show the film Hearts Beat Loud it was supposed to be this Saturday, June 25th. But due to some scheduling issues, we will probably be rescheduling that for sometime in July. But this screening will take place in the Pavilion Lawn at Switchyard Park. This partnership agreement is basically outlining an agreement where Bloomington Pride will be responsible for acquiring the film rights to show the film and also the copy of the film to be shown. And Parks will be providing the location and the movie screen and the projector that we use for our Movies in the Park series, and staff support for the film screening. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Move to approve if there's no questions.
Yeah, very interesting. I second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion carries. Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.
All right, Tim, you are back covering for Aaron.
Yes, Erin unfortunately could not be with us this evening unexpectedly, so I am covering for her 2 items. So the first item is the agreement with Bluestone Tree LLC for mature tree pruning services. This is the amount of a contract in not to exceed $15,000 that is coming from the Urban Forestry General Fund. This is for mature tree pruning services in the neighborhood, basically to the west of Childs there, along Wexley, Kensington, Stratford, and Winston streets. Predominantly large pin oaks. Large mature street tree pruning is something that generally we do need to contract out due to the expensive nature of trucks and expertise needed, and Bluestone can provide the advanced certified arborists that we need to give good care to our trees there. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, motion carries. Thanks, Tim. One other, I believe. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. Sorry about that. The second agenda item for urban forestry is the agreement with Bledsoe, Riggert, Cooper, James for surveying at RCA Park in near Blue Slopes. This is to better determine city responsibility for trees adjacent to city property and right-of-ways. So boundaries will be surveyed and marked with wood lathe markers for future reference. This is the southern area of RCA Park where it backs up to the neighborhood that is along Countryside there, and along North Walnut Street behind Blue Slopes Drive, which is kind of the east side of Walnut Street as you head out of town and start down the hill. Just before you start down the hill, rather. Happy to answer any questions.
Move to approve.
I second.
All right, so all those in favor to approve this one, say aye.
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 Thank you.
All right, motion carries. Thank you, Tim. All right, I think we have Joanna Sparks up for a contract with Ecologic. Hi, Joanna.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Joanna Sparks, the city landscaper, and I'm here today to recommend approval of a contract with Ecologic to provide wetland and stream mitigation monitoring at Switchyard Park. That would come from the general fund for the landscaping area, and it would not exceed $9,885. A little bit of background, when Switchyard Park was constructed, two areas of existing wetland were impacted by the construction, and Indiana law and federal law requires that we mitigate the destruction of the existing wetlands. And by doing so, the total amount we impacted was 0.77 acres, and we created a wetland basin of 1.7 acres. And we also opened up the western branch of Clear Creek, which was a culvert at that time. And we did what is called commonly known as daylighting, and opened up 293 feet of that stream. And that's in the area just north of the splash pad. So we are required to provide monitoring to ensure success of this project for a period of 3 to 5 years. If we have 3 successful years, then we're complete. But if not, we could go up to 5 years of monitoring. I could give you a lot more information, but I'll let you ask questions if you have any.
Thank you, Joanna. I think it's great to see that, we mitigate and we also replace the wetland with even, better. So that's great.
Yeah,
completely understand the need to
move for approval.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Thanks so much, Joanna.
Thank you very much.
All right, so next up we have Paula, who's going to bring us a report about Lower Cascades.
Great, thank you very much. Good afternoon. I'm Paula McDevitt, Director of the department, and I'm here this afternoon to present the recommendations for how we would like the road in Lower Cascades to be used following the conclusion of the pilot project that wraps up June 30th, just next week. So as you know, the department is committed to providing an experience in parks for the whole community. And what I like to say and say often is something for everyone. So staff is recommending that a new experience for the use of the road, and it's here on this map that we've just put up that my cursor is following. We would like to create a new experience for the use of this road, and in the following ways. First, we would like to reopen the road and pave and stripe the road, install some traffic calming devices, install 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. It is currently 20 miles an hour down there, but we do not have the signage that indicate that, and no trucks through there. We would also like to install limestone bollards to prevent vehicle access across the spillway section of the creek and convert that gravel lot into green space. That is the spillway where there is people-vehicle interaction quite often. And we would also like to convert the parking spaces in the southern parking lot on the southern end of the playground parking lot to all accessible parking spaces, including 15-minute loading and unloading spaces. And then we would also like to install lighting in the key locations throughout the park. Public Works Department, because this would be a street project, would request from the Board of Public Works an approval to continue the temporary closure of the road in order to implement these road improvements. The road would be a construction zone during that time and closed to all traffic, bicycles, and pedestrians. And the 180 emergency closure would be used, and staff would, however, be working diligently and as quickly as possible to get these improvements in place to order to welcome people back to the park. So that is the recommendation. And just briefly, for those who are listening in this evening, as you know, we started this pilot project in mid-March of 2020, ironically, right when the pandemic hit. And because of that, and because of community input that we sought all during the pilot project. When we launched the pilot project, we also launched an online survey encouraging people to go down and experience the pilot and give us their feedback. During that time, we received a lot of feedback that this was not the ideal time to close and conduct a pilot because of COVID. So in September, we went back to Public Works and asked for an extension of the pilot projects, which they approved, and approved it to the end of this month. At the same time, we launched a second survey for people to give us feedback on how this road pilot closure was impacting them. We also, during this 15-month period, have spent a lot of time not only reviewing survey results, but also attending constituent meetings, several public comment periods. In this meeting, you've had some public comments come forward. We also attended a meeting on site down in the park. We've been on the phone, we've received emails, clearly getting a lot of input from the community on both sides of the issue. People who were enjoying this new experience on the road, but also people who enjoy driving through the park to enjoy the park in that way, but we're no longer able to do that. So in reviewing all of the information that we gathered, I will say that we had a 2019 survey that was done as part of the total trail study down in Lower Cascades. That was also part of the material that we reviewed in us making this recommendation. So in all of the material that we reviewed, there are several that I call buckets of feedback that we received that went into the recommendation that included access and people's experiences down in the park. Clearly, some people were enjoying walking and biking through the park, but we also heard from people who we had taken away that experience because for mobility issues, they were not able to walk through the park. And so their only way to enjoy the park was to drive slowly through the park. Again, as I said, we had survey results to study, the 2019 survey. We had 212 respondents, and of those 212, 71% told us that the road closure was the least desirable option. But then when we had the experience survey that ran the last 15 months, we had 458 respondents, and 52% indicated that they definitely wanted to keep the road as a multi-use trail. So again, we had a lot of feedback. The impact survey, we had 394 respondents and had a question on when asked to rank on a scale of 1 to 7, support of different options. The 360 respondents indicated that reopening both lanes to vehicle got a score of 5.6 average rating, while the permanent closing of the road was a 2.2 and having only one lane open to vehicles was a 2.6. We also had a lot of feedback on traffic through there. We heard that when the road was open, that cars would speed through there and not adhere to the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. So clearly that went into our recommendation. A lot of feedback on safety, on lighting, on difficulty being able to patrol Lower Cascades because a section of the road was closed down. So heard a lot of feedback on safety. The stream bank erosion, as you know, we're working on that starting in July. Our big project is kicking off, along with the building of a new accessible trail all the way back to the waterfall. So in conclusion, our recommendation is based on, again, something for everyone. We are really excited. I mean, we enjoy our trails that are currently down and open in the park that take you up to Country Club or all the way out to Griffey Dam. And with the addition of our new accessible trail, will now take you all the way back to the waterfall shelter. We will continue to explore best options for using and enjoying this road through the park. But what we are recommending is this new approach after all the listening and review that we have done. Again, I cannot emphasize this is our oldest park. There's a lot of features for it, and a lot of the face-to-face conversations that we had, clearly people are passionate about this park and being able to use it and enjoy it. And we feel strongly that making these improvements to the road will allow everyone and the bigger, broader community to enjoy this park. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And I do believe we have some people who are in the meeting that would probably like to public comment as well.
So yes, any questions from commissioners, and then we'll take our public comment that is specific to this issue first. And then if there is public comment related to other park issues, we'll take that later. So this will be just a period for the Cascades specific agenda item.
Quick question for Paula. And first of all, thanks for all the exhaustive work that you and the other staff have done on surveys and looking into this issue. Thank you very much for that. My question is on the, when it is opened up, has there been a design for how that's going to look done yet? Is that going to be done? And is that the responsibility of the Parks Department or of Public Works?
That will be headed up by Public Works because it is a road, but clearly we will be at the table and already talking to planning, transportation, and our engineering department as well.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Okay.
Yeah, one question, Paula. So we had the flood 3 days ago, maybe, and we know that we had a tragic event in Bloomington, and in many places there were also some kind of damages. But the most important thing to care about was this fatal event. And I'm wondering how the impact that the flood had in this road, and also the need for working for more security in this segment of the park.
Right, great. Thank you for your question. We did sustain damage down in Lower Cascades. We lost a couple of trees. And actually the road, there are sections of the road that is currently part of this pilot that were damaged due to the floods down there. So we'll be touring down there tomorrow to take a closer look at that, but there are sections of the road that were definitely damaged as a result of the flood. And as it relates to security, of course, opening it back up, they will be able to, emergency vehicles, BPD, our own park patrol, will be able to enter the park from the south end or from the north end, and slowly drive through and monitor the park.
Thank you, Paula. And thank you for all your work.
All right, thanks, Paula and Jim and Israel. So we'll go to the public comment period. You have 2 minutes, and I believe Kim is gonna help me with this.
We're gonna start with Tracy, and we do ask that you keep to 2 minutes. I will ask you to unmute yourself.
Unmuted.
Oh, okay, great. We'll let you go and I'll start the time.
So you said that the pilot started during COVID. Actually went down there quite a bit during COVID because it seemed to be a safe and reasonable place. Given that COVID is kind of officially ended, I think in June, how do you feel about letting this actually run another year or 6 months, see what post-COVID looks like? Because I think that we're in a post-COVID time right now. I've lived in Bloomington since 1979, and I've spent a lot of time in that park and many times on my bicycle. And I think that having cars go through it and posting a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's just ludicrous to think that people are going to obey that. If you put a police officer down there, maybe people will go 20 miles an hour, but no one does. And I use that park more as a, now that it's been closed than ever when it was open to traffic. So those are my thoughts. And I think people complain about not being able to park in front of businesses. They complain about football traffic and it's a shortcut. And I think that, you know, thinking about pollution and how we want our community to look, I would rather close that road and turn it back into a park for families to go to and make it a safe place. And let people ride their bikes down there and ride through that community. That's, you know, one of the only ways we can get out to Old 37 as cyclists. So, and those are my thoughts.
That is time. Thank you, Tracy.
All right, thank you, Tracy.
And Greg, you're going to be next. We've asked to unmute you.
Great, thank you. My name is Greg Alexander. I'm really disappointed in this proposal. I don't have a car. I do have 2 kids, and I live about a half mile past the south end of this project. My 9-year-old is now too big to fit inside of my bike trailer, but he is able to ride his own bike. So this pilot project has been a godsend to us. You know, he's 9. I'm not comfortable taking him on Kinzer Pike. You know, I'm not comfortable taking him through a bunch of truck traffic, which was the norm in this park until very recently. I'm not comfortable having him exposed to people who speed around blind corners and pass unsafely, which was very common in this park before this project. But now he rides his bike from our house to the Lower Cascades playground. And we also ride our bikes all the way to the Griffey Lake Dam. Sometimes we all walk to the playground. We walk through this path from my house. It is safe and comfortable. I don't know how we would get to the park without it. I called Tim Street and he was kind enough to talk to me on the phone. I asked him this question: how do we get to this park? And he suggested we should drive. What are we going to do? How are we going to get to the playground safely? A bike and ped connection through the park has been in the city's plan since the 2008 Greenways Plan. The 2011 Journey to Platinum Plan called for it explicitly to connect Miller Showers Park to North High School and Griffey Lake. In 2018, City Council approved $2 million of bond money to complete the connection to the Miller Showers Park. The Griffey Lake connection has been completed, but the other 2 have not. And Parks has already spent almost all of the bond money without providing the connection. We need to provide that connection. Parks has made the commitment to City Council to provide that connection. If we don't have that connection, how much longer are we going to be waiting for the very first safe bike or ped connection north of the bypass? This is a transportation issue. It is ludicrous that Parks is in charge of this issue, but if you are in charge of this issue, if you have decided to take transportation money from the city for the purpose of...
That is time. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
And Carol, you're next. Carol, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you. I couldn't find the button.
It's always a challenge with Zoom, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I just want to express my deepest thanks to Parks and Rec and the Public Works Board for opening this road back up. I honestly didn't think it was going to happen. And I'm just ever so grateful. I can't begin to tell you. And I want to thank you for all the attention that you've given our comments. And I'm actually just kind of speechless. And I just want to say thank you so much. That's it.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
And it looks like Ian, you are next. I have asked you to unmute yourself.
Hi, my name's Ian Yarbrough. I'm a 6-year resident of Matlock Heights, a neighboring neighborhood. Not really neighboring because we don't have any connection to it, but pretty close by as the crow flies. I'd like to say that, thank you a whole bunch for all the work that you've done with the surveys and trying to collect all the data to and I know it's an impossible task to please everyone. And I do appreciate that the traffic calming measures would be a step in the right direction to help keep traffic down to a reasonable speed through there. But I think that it's a kind of a misuse of funds with how much traffic calming you're going to need for that entire length of a park, plus the road improvements and the road repair and everything, when you could instead spend that money on connections to improve accessibility to the park, through up to Matlock Heights and Walnut up there, up to Blue Ridge, up that hill, maybe behind the visitor center. Like, there's all these better ways we could utilize the money to improve this park than just, fixing a road that's falling into the river and then trying to put a bunch of speed bumps for however long it is, quarter mile or something like that, to try and keep speeds at a reasonable level. But yeah, I mean, I understand the traffic problem. Like, taking my 1-week-old daughter home, we mistimed it and sat in football traffic with a crying infant in the back of the car. So I understand the football issue, but if my 1-week-old daughter can do it, we can all do it. It's not that big of a connection issue. So thank you very much for trying to please everybody. I know it's an impossible task, and I appreciate your work towards that.
Thank you, Ian. And it looks like Deborah, you are next. Deborah, you should be able to speak now. We will move on to Susan then. It looks like Deborah might be having some issues, so go to Susan. I'm asking you to unmute yourself, Susan.
I am unmuted. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Susan Glowetz. Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment, and just thank you to everybody here and who's not able to be here today, who's worked on this issue, who have open lines of communication, who have considered all of our comments. So just, thank you so much to everyone, Tim and Paula and Israel and Jim and Sue, et cetera. I've learned so much in talking with the different constituents in my area. I live in Fritz Terrace. I am very disappointed about the decision, but I'm also delighted for those who have access to the road because they are differently able. Again, I learned so much about those who had a different view, and I'm delighted, I'm excited for them. But I will add that I also understand some of the other comments that Tracy offered and Greg offered and feel very similarly. And I hope in the future, maybe it's something that we could consider closing once again when we have a better idea about how to grant access to those who rely on cars to introduce them and take them through nature. And I had sent a letter recently, and I'm really excited about possibilities of ADA trolley cars. So I'll leave you with that thought. And again, thanks everybody for the conversation and the thoughtfulness.
Thank you so much, Susan.
And it looks like our last one will be Deborah. Sarah, can you help me unmute Deborah maybe? We'll see if that works.
Sure, just one sec. Okay, Deborah, go ahead and try again. Alternatively, Deborah, if you do have Facebook, if you can access the live stream, you can leave a comment below the streaming video and we can get that back to our board members.
Thanks, Sarah. I was going to suggest that also. let's see, I think we have another hand raised.
And this will be the last one. Is that correct, Ellen? And
I believe so.
Sue, and I will ask you to unmute yourself, Sue, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. I'm Sue Scambaluri. I'm the City Council representative for District 2, which includes Lower Cascades. And first of all, thank you to the Board of Parks Commissioners for your diligent work on this. It has been, I'm tired of the metaphor, but it's been a journey. And I thank you for your attention to all this. I also want to applaud Paula McDevitt and Tim Street. It's always my hope that city staff are responsive when our residents have concerns and questions and ideas. Paula and Tim in particular have gone above and beyond and above and beyond. And I am so grateful for them and for their interaction with my residents. They are exactly the kind of public servants we want to see. There is no perfect solution here. I think as Mr. Yarborough said, somebody will be displeased no matter what decision is made. But I think on balance, the recommendation is a very good one. I think it attends to the needs of those who have different abilities than we do and who rely on cars to access the city's most naturalized park. I think it also attends to the need to slow traffic down and to be sensitive to how car traffic does behave. So I appreciate the increasingly comprehensive way in which Parks gathered feedback on this. I appreciate the comprehensive outlook they take to making this decision and making this recommendation. So I truly applaud them and I support this recommendation, and I thank you all for your hard work as well.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Sue, also. Sorry to overstep you, Kim. Do we have any other comments on Facebook or in emails?
Nothing in my email.
Okay.
I move to approve the recommendation.
So do we have the comment from Deborah?
I was just going to say we don't have any comments from Facebook. Sorry.
Thank you, Sarah.
Ellen,
Mm-hmm.
Anything about Deborah?
I think we offered her the opportunity to put it on Facebook.
And if we get that, we'll make that available to you as well.
Actually, it just came through from Deborah, excuse me.
Okay.
Deborah Meyerson says, I strongly encourage the Board of Parks Commissioners to extend this pilot closure during more typical usage times. The dedication of the road to bike ped use is an important extension to the shared use network.
All right, thank you so much, Deborah. And thank you, Sarah, for reading that for us.
Sure, we do have one more comment. Excuse me, I just saw it. This is from Ann Edmonds. It shouldn't be necessary to involve a city council person to get the Parks Department to consider citizen input. And that was just general feedback comment.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'll renew my motion to approve the recommendation.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion carries. And with that, I think Paula will probably need to send you off to Public Works.
That's right.
All right.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We will hold off on our awards and push those to the next month's agenda. So Jillian and if we had Lori from Choice Realty here, we'll get to you next month. And sorry about that, but we're so grateful for all that you do. And is there any other comments as we close out? I think Paula did go ahead and hop off to the next meeting.
If we need a motion to adjourn, I make a motion to adjourn. I don't know if we need one or not, but I'll make the motion anyway.
Before that, I would like to congratulate today, but we were going to do it next time. But I see the recipients from for the awards here, and just excuse us, but the time it's constrained today. But congratulations in advance.
Yes, Thanks so much, Israel. All right. Well, everyone have a good night. We will adjourn the meeting of the June Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners.
Thank
Thanks,
you all.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Good job, Ellen.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone.